Okay, here we go. This is our 5th video in this series, and today we're going to talk about the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Let's recap. What have we talked about so far in the previous videos? We talked about the history and current status of Mid-Penn Bank. We talked about the banking system and the regulatory structure. We talked about what happened with those 2 banks that failed, and in our last video, I assured you that Mid-Penn Bank is safe and sound, strong and resilient. But let's talk about what happens when a bank isn't those things. So over time, the FDIC was founded in 1933, around the time of the Great Depression, when I think 9,000 banks failed and depositors were losing money in those situations. So the FDIC was created, and the FDIC insures depositors. So when it started, I think they were insuring $2,500 per person. Today, after the Great Recession, that number went up to $250,000. Now that's not really all you can get at any one bank. You buy per tax ID number, so Social Security number for an individual or a tax identification number for a company. Per tax ID number, you can get $250,000 of coverage. But if there's more than one tax ID number associated with that account, you can go up to $500,000 for 2, $750,000 for 3, and so on with no real limitation. And if the bank fails and it can't cover all of its depositors, then the FDIC steps in and it pays those depositors back what they lent to the bank. Now, where does that money come from? Because I think that this is a little bit of a misunderstanding. What they're doing with Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank, that's not a government bailout. That money is coming from a deposit insurance fund at the FDIC. Right now that fund has around $125 billion in it. And that fund was built not with taxpayer dollars. It's every year, banks like us, who are FDIC insured, we pay a premium to the FDIC based upon the size of our assets. For Mid-Penn Bank in 2022, that premium was around $2 million. So we put into that so that in the event that there are bank failures in the country, it's covered by that FDIC insurance. So how many bank failures have there been? In the last, since I think 2000, there have been 500 and some banks, 550 bank failures in the United States. Not all of those instances tapped into the FDIC Deposit Insurance Fund, but some of them did, particularly around that Great Recession, when most of those 550 were in those years from 2008, 9, 10, 11, and 12, until we had a full recovery from that. There haven't been a lot of bank failures in the last 8 or 9 years, but obviously we had a couple earlier this month. So that's what that FDIC insurance fund is there for. That's how it's funded, through those bank premiums. And that's everyone's fallback in case their bank isn't safe and sound, strong and resilient, like I feel we are. So now, how do you cover more than that insurance amount, that $250,000 per tax ID number? So every community bank has access to a system of reciprocal deposits. There are several systems. I'm not going to name any one, or particularly the one that we use, but in that process, we can take someone who might have quote unquote uninsured deposits with us, and we could share it through that network to other FDIC insured institutions so that they get full 100% coverage on those deposits, and those institutions in return send us money that we can then fully insure. So everyone's deposits can be fully insured and no one loses any deposits because customers are trying to find insurance at other banks. So that is a real possibility here, and pretty much any community bank that takes advantage of that system of reciprocity across the state. But to start out with the concept, we feel safe and sound. FDIC insurance is there to protect all depositors across the country. And there are ways for you to maximize your FDIC insurance without having to go start 10 or 15 different banking relationships. So if you have any questions on that system or the FDIC, they are going to put a little calculator up, a link to how you can determine how much your money is protected or how you can increase that protection. And of course, as always, if you have any questions on this, please don't hesitate to contact me directly if you're a Mid-Penn Bank customer, and I'll be glad to walk you through it, or even if you're not. So thank you.